All right, we are live.
Welcome to this week's episode of RDU Buzz. We are excited to be here with you guys. We have a lot of interesting topics to dive into today. While we're kind of waiting for everyone to get on, if you are on, definitely let us know where you're watching from today. If you're local or watching from somewhere else, we love to see where everyone's watching from. And it helps us make sure we're talking about topics that are going to be interesting to our audience.
Yeah, absolutely. Hope y'all had a good week so far. So we do have some interesting topics tonight. We're going to start with some housing data topics and some interesting economic topics as well. Raleigh ranked in number 2 in the country for economic performance. We're going to get to that in a second.
Very
Um,
impressive.
Yeah, it is. It is. And then we're going to talk about some toll road things as well. So there's some talk of turning Capital Boulevard, the portion of Capital Boulevard, into a toll road. So we're going to talk about that as well.
Womp womp.
Yeah. I'm very curious. I really want to know people's opinions on that. I've got a very strong opinion on it, but I would love to know. I would love to know y'all's opinions. But kicking it off with the housing market. So U.S. News. Those of you who are watching probably have heard of U.S. News or know about U.S. News. They put out a really interesting report calling Raleigh the second hottest housing market in the country,
Wow.
and Durham, Chapel Hill, the fourth hottest housing market in the country,
Crazy.
which I thought was really interesting.
It's interesting that they separate the two because I feel like we're like one big area. So it's interesting, but also amazing that we made it into both categories there. So
It
pretty cool.
is. Sorry, I was turning Cindy's volume up. It was really low. Yeah, it is. So Denver was number 1. The frustrating thing about this article, to be honest with you, is it really just talks about Denver, who's number 1, and it gives a lot of really good data on Denver. Obviously, that's not applicable to this podcast. But Raleigh makes it on there as number 2, Durham, Chapel Hill number 4. And really the way, so if you look at US Census data, they split up Raleigh and Durham into 2 different metros. So you have Raleigh, Cary as a metro, and you have Durham, Chapel Hill as a metro. And so that's essentially what they're doing here. But there's also some other North Carolina cities on there as well. Charlotte came in at number 5. So in the top 5, you have 3 North Carolina cities for the top, the hottest housing markets out there.
I mean, it makes sense. There's so many
Yeah.
people moving into our area for different jobs. And I feel like a lot of businesses that are deciding to relocate into North Carolina for different reasons. So
And to be fair, I think they use they use the word hottest in a way that I probably wouldn't when I think of the housing market. So when I think of a hot housing market, I think of, you have homes that are flying off the market quickly. You have homes that are selling for well above asking price. That's what I envision when I think of like a hot housing market, and that's not necessarily how they're defining this term. They're looking at it really in a couple ways. They're looking at the economic impact of the area. So what are the job opportunities? What is the unemployment rate? That's kind of one factor. And then they're also looking at housing supply as well. So those two combined is essentially what they're using to produce this report. And Raleigh ranks and Durham ranks in the top. So I'm going to scroll down here and then share the screen right here. And let's know what y'all's thoughts are on this. So for housing demand, so this is one of the metrics they use to determine this, basically. So they're looking at data on employment and unemployment, household growth, median sales price on Redfin. So that's essentially what they're looking at. Raleigh ranked number 1 in this category, and Durham ranked number 3 in this category. So essentially what this is saying is that our area has a very strong economy, because they're looking at unemployment and they're looking at employment opportunities. And we're actually going to get to a report right after this that actually digs into some of this a little more. And the second thing they're looking at is housing supply, rental vacancy rates, construction costs, and construction jobs. And Raleigh was a little bit further down the list on this one. It actually doesn't even have it on here. You've got, but Charlotte, yeah, Charlotte was on here. And then down here, you've got essentially the same, roughly the same category, but you got Raleigh on here. Actually, I don't know what the difference. I
This
guess
is
one's for
for
financing and one's for
financing.
building. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That makes sense. So you've got Raleigh down here, which is kind of an interesting setup. But and then you have Durham as number 9. But I think when I look at this, I mean, it does make sense. So our area when it comes to the housing market is a very stable market. I feel like when you look at the job opportunities we have. So sometimes I get the questions, is the market overvalued? And I think that's a perfectly legitimate question. But when you look at the economy in our area, I just it's a really stable market.
Yeah, for sure. I think people were really nervous, like, after the pandemic kind of boomed during, like, the COVID times, and then, prices have stayed elevated, and I think people thought that that was, like, a temporary thing, but
Yeah,
it's definitely not. I mean, people are continuing to relocate here, in force, and, I
yeah.
think there's so many great, strong jobs with RTP, the Duke system, all the healthcare and stuff that's around here that it's gonna be hard to break this area.
Yeah, yeah. So this is a report that talks about the hottest housing markets. What it really is a report about the economics
Yeah,
of our area.
yeah,
Is
that's true.
essentially what this is saying. So we have a strong economy in our area, and that's true. But I mean, just talking a little bit about the housing market. Um, January, and I obviously we're midway through February, but this has been the busiest start to the year that we have ever experienced, as far as reach outs go and contracts go. So I think 2024 is shaping up to be how I would describe a hot real estate market, which is a lot of homes moving, and a lot of homes moving quickly and sometimes over what they're listed for.
Right.
I think that is playing out here.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's playing out despite interest rates, which hit 7% this week, which is really kind of surprising. So did you
Yeah.
think we'd be at 7% this week?
No, I was hoping we weren't gonna crest 7% again in 2024, but, we're right just kinda hovering the line slightly above it, so
Yeah.
hopefully we won't get, like, close to, like, 7.5 or anything. I'm
Yeah.
hoping, let's just keep it around 6 and not get above 7 again, so
And
we'll see
there's
what
a lot of
happens.
people in our industry that are still calling for rates to be into the fives this year,
Yeah.
which will be, obviously, I think when they say fives, I think they were referring to upper fives, like 5.9%, which is
Yeah.
really 6%
Right.
at the end of the day. But I think that is still the expectation that rates will at some point this year, maybe quarter four, will be in the five. So at some point, the expectation is those rates are going to start a gradual
Yeah.
decline
It's got a long way to
down.
go down, I
It
mean, to
does. It
make it that
does.
far, so we'll see maybe
Yeah.
those days that it goes down, it's gonna be really drastic, or maybe it's just gonna be really slight, like, each week, but it hasn't started yet to go
Yeah.
down, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah. All right. So speaking of Raleigh having a great economy, there was a report that came out by I think it's the Milken Institute. I think I'm pronouncing
That's what
pronouncing
it
that
looks like.
correctly.
Yeah.
But they put together a study of essentially the best performing cities. They do this on an annual basis. So this is the best performing cities for 2024, and Raleigh was number two on the list, which is
Pretty
obviously
awesome.
really good.
Yeah.
Number one is Austin. I feel like sometimes in these studies, it's like it's Austin and it's Raleigh always
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
kind of
Well, people
competing.
always say that they're kinda similar, like, I've never
Yeah,
really we've spent, like, an hour in Austin one time, like,
yeah,
in
yeah,
between hopping around different cities in Texas, but I feel like people compare, like, the lifestyle and feel of the towns a lot, so it is interesting.
yeah, yeah. And so, but yeah, Raleigh is number two on the list, and I think this one was a little more helpful of a study than the U.S. News one, simply because it broke things down in a better way. The U.S. News one focused a lot on Denver because Denver was the top city. I wish it would have spent a little more time on some of the other top cities with some of the data they had, because the Denver data was super helpful. There just wasn't a lot of data on Raleigh or Durham, which were in the top 5, but this one is. So the way they're essentially ranking these areas is they're using job growth, wage growth, high tech growth, and then they're looking at different household statistics. So income inequality, households with broadband, which I thought was a really interesting. It's a really interesting category.
Yeah.
And it's got Raleigh's rankings on all this. So if you look at wage growth from 2017 to 2022, Raleigh ranked 6th in the nation for wage growth, which is really good.
Yeah, that's great.
Now, if you look at it from 2021 to 2022 for that little snapshot of a year, it's 21st. But for that entire 5-year period, the wage growth was exceptional. And this because of that, I mean, this area, it doesn't always feel affordable anymore. I mean, we were in the business before COVID, and when you look at what a first time home buyer could buy, in 2018 or 2019, it's completely different than today.
Yeah,
it's
totally different.
Twice as expensive.
Right.
And so the area doesn't always feel affordable. If you knew the area before prices are where they are today, but when you look at it on a national scale, it still is.
Yeah, for sure. And with wage growth too, calculated in, that's a good thing.
Yeah. So down here, there was some interesting, it just went over, rapid job and wage growth and driven by high tech industries has really helped. It mentioned the tourism economy in Raleigh. I've never known this area to have. I don't really know what that means by tourism economy.
I guess just hotel stays, short-term rentals, or something like that, or conferences and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I don't feel like it's really like a destination city.
Yeah, but there's obviously data to back that up.
Yeah, but it might be people coming in. I bet it's people traveling in for work,
maybe
to go to RTP.
Yeah, maybe so. But I'd be interested to kind of dig into that a little more, how Raleigh ranks as a touristy area, because I don't consider it a touristy area. I'd love to know folks who y'all's thoughts, because some of you don't live here, some of you may live here. Do you view Raleigh as a touristy city? Because I certainly don't. There's a lot of touristy areas in North Carolina, but I would not consider the Raleigh area to be that. But one thing that this did mention that this area has that's a huge strength is the university systems. And with the university systems, some of the medical systems that come with that. So, I mean, this talked about NC State University, which does not have a medical system, but it's the agricultural university for the state of North Carolina. You have Duke University, obviously has a world-renowned medical system.
Yeah.
And then you have the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, or just Chapel Hill is normal people call it.
Yeah.
That also has a medical, side as well. And so, you've got a ton. I mean, just on the university side, when it comes to employment and economic growth, you have a significant portion.
Yeah, I mean, Duke, I think, is the largest employer in our region. So, UNC is definitely like in that top 5. I don't know where NC State kind of ranks within that, but all of these are pretty large colleges. Duke and UNC having the hospital system too definitely makes them a big employer in the area.
Yeah. I think Duke is the 3rd largest in the state.
Yeah,
if I'm correct. I think Food Lion is number 1 or number 2, and I think there's a medical system in Charlotte that's ahead of Duke. I can't remember the name of it, but it's
interesting.
Whatever the
Go
big
Food
one is.
Lion.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Food Lion is 1 or 2. Now this is interesting. So right here it said, it was talking about how there's a current construction boom in Raleigh. And when it says Raleigh, because I mean, if you talk to us and you're looking for new construction, there's not a significant amount of new construction within necessarily Raleigh proper. So when it's saying Raleigh, it's essentially meaning the metro area. But there is a significant amount of new construction in this area, whether you're talking about Wake Forest or Fuquay or Clayton,
Yeah,
any of
about
those areas.
50% of what's on the market right now is new construction in our area.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
definitely a lot. So there's definitely more of it than I remember there even being like, just a couple of years ago. So I feel like there is a boom of new construction in
Yeah.
the area. So at least they're trying.
Yeah, what's interesting though is in this report it says, and this is I don't know why it's using 2023 because 2023 is already complete, but I guess this was a fact from last year. But it says Raleigh still needs at least 17,000 more housing units to meet demand in 2023.
Yep.
Obviously, 2023 is over, but that was a reality apparently in 2023. Is this area needed 17,000 more housing units?
Yeah.
So you can only imagine that number compounds over time.
Yeah, for sure. Sure.
Very interesting. Yeah. Well, Raleigh, I mean, Boise was next. Yeah, I mean, the two reports, the hottest housing market, and then this, it just made me proud of the area.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it points to just a strong economy, a strong market, and it's just a
strong
really
future.
Yeah, and a strong future, and just it's just it's a great place to live.
Yeah, because I feel like some of the others on the list I think became like hot spots during the pandemic when people were starting to work remotely, but they don't necessarily have that like
lasting
employment
impact.
Yeah. So I feel like Raleigh is one that's like, okay, this is gonna continue to stay like successful. It's not just like we moved here because we could work remotely, but now we can't anymore, and there's not really a lot of industry here, So I feel like there's a lot that Raleigh has going for it.
Yeah, and some of the comments we get from folks who move here, that a lot of people will make a comment where they'll say, "I know that if I'm in the Raleigh area and I need to change jobs, that there's a lot of options in the area." And
for sure,
I think that's something that makes our area attractive, is the fact that you can move here, maybe with that remote job, with the knowledge that the market here is strong enough that if you ever needed to change jobs, if that job's like, hey, I know you like working remote, we're going to pull you back to the office, you could find something else here.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. There's a lot of opportunity here, and not just in the healthcare system.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Well, yeah, those are two big reports on the Raleigh area that I wanted to go over. So the next one, I'm really curious. I really want to know people's thoughts on this.
This one is testing. Before we start it too, we have a lot of people that joined just a minute ago. So if you joined, we would love to know where you are watching from. So definitely let us know in the comments.
Yeah, let us know.
We like to see who's watching from the farthest away. So be sure to chime
and if y'all got any questions about anything we're talking about, feel free to throw them out.
Yeah.
So excuse me. So for those of you who have followed us for a while, you've probably heard us talk about this in passing. But there's a section of highway that connects Wake Forest into essentially downtown Raleigh. It's called Capital Boulevard. It's
flames should come across.
It's US 1. Why is that?
Because it's just terrible.
Yeah. It is without a doubt the worst road in our area.
Yeah, it's like a highway, but it's filled with stoplights. So I feel like you just never get anywhere, and there's so many like car dealerships and restaurants and stores. It's just like it's just impossible.
Yeah. So if you go to the NCDOT's website, the Department of Transportation's website, and you look under, they break it down by metro, so you can select the triangle as a metro and see what road projects are going on or what road projects are projected to happen in the future. One that is turning a segment of that highway basically from Wake Forest to where it intersects with 540, which is an interstate loop in our area, into a freeway, meaning they would remove the stoplights, and they would have off ramps and on ramps on it, which is an amazing idea.
Yeah, I mean, that was like exciting when all of that first came up, and we've been talking about it for a while.
And it's still on the DOT, like it's still a plan to occur. However, what came out is a formal request from the Capital Area Metropolitan Planning Organization. I don't know who that is or what their role is in the process, but they asked to study the potential use of creating what would be that freeway and turning it into a toll road. And so I think
Awful.
that is a horrendous idea.
Yeah, I guess though for
Um,
people that aren't like local to here, maybe their areas they're like
yeah,
so used to toll
there's
roads,
not a
it's just
toll
like a
road
part of
culture
life.
here.
But there's not. Yeah, I mean 540 is like it, you
Yeah.
know, like or sorry, 540 is like the only, and it's just like a small portion of it, like going into like the Apex, Holly Springs area. So I guess if you live out there, you're kind of used to it a little bit. But
Yeah.
if you're like my family, my dad will still go the longer way and be like, I just refuse out of principle to pay. So I feel like that's what would happen with Capital Boulevard. They put
Yeah.
all these improvements into it and then no one will use it.
Yeah, and where would like what would be the, like I was thinking, I was like, okay, well, people could just take an alternate route, but what would that alternate route even be?
Now,
Because
if
there
you live
really
in Wake
isn't.
Forest, there's really not a
There really,
lot
I mean,
of.
you could take 401, but
Yeah.
I mean, you're going way
It'd
out
be
of the
really
way.
out of the way. Yeah.
Anyway, I think, my opinion, I think it's a terrible idea. I would love to know y'all's thoughts. And I think if you were in an area where you had a culture of toll roads, maybe like in the Northeast. I've never lived in the Northeast, but I know toll roads are a little more common up there. Maybe it's not that big of a deal, but when you're not used to driving a toll road ever, and the only route you have to get to Raleigh is a toll road.
Yeah, it's definitely frustrating, especially when you're already, I feel like it's kind of set up maybe like in parts of the Northeast that you're paying for that, but maybe you have other like, because we're taxed for the roads like at the gas pump and things like that. So it's a little annoying to like pay for it in more than one way.
Yeah. And I mean, I think the heart behind this is right, because
Right.
the whole reason for the toll would be to speed up the process, so that what is an idea now and needs to be funded would be an idea that is funded. Because it does need to be done. I mean, if you've ever been on that section of highway, it needs to be changed. But to turn it into a toll, that's
rough.
yeah,
That's rough.
Yeah. I'd love to know y'all's opinion on that, though.
Especially for people that live in North Raleigh and Wake Forest. If you live here,
I would love to know, because I mean that truly is your route to get to Raleigh.
Yeah.
You would have a way to get to Durham through 98, but your way to get into Raleigh is Capital Boulevard. That's really it.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Anyway, we'd love to know y'all's thoughts.
Hi, Chris.
Yeah, Chris.
From
Great.
Holly Springs.
Yeah, Chris. I hope y'all are doing well, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in.
Definitely.
So, yeah. Tell the family we said hello.
Yes.
But yeah. So anyway, let me know y'all's thoughts on toll road. We'd love to know it. So on to some other sad news. So if you've ever watched some of our videos on Cary, sometimes we'll get B-roll shots, or maybe even film in front of. I think we've used a photo that we took of their store as like the thumbnail on the YouTube
so
video.
many times.
Yeah,
like
so
all
many
of
times.
our Cary videos.
But
and then I always post about it because I have to. It's Ashworth Drugs store, which is like a landmark in downtown
it closed.
Cary.
It's so sad.
And it just closed like suddenly. It's so
It's so sad.
sad. And they had the best orangeade ever. It was so cute. It was like an old timey pharmacy soda shop kind of spot, but they made this fresh orangeade and it was so good. So anytime we were in downtown, I had to go get one.
Yeah, you were always a sucker to get it, but
every time.
But yeah, I mean, it was just kind of this old timey pharmacy. It had like a little store and a little grill, where you could get like the orangeade or
hot
dogs or something like that, and just felt like you were kind of stepping back in time.
Yeah,
but it
really
closed,
nice.
and it was in the heart of downtown Cary. It was just very not too far from the downtown Cary Park, and so the new downtown Cary Park. But anyway, it's sad. But the owners, the reason it closed, they tried to find sounds like a younger pharmacist to take over, and they couldn't find anyone. They don't have a drive-through. I mean, it is an old school pharmacy.
Yeah.
They don't have a drive-through, and so it sounded like that was a turnoff for a lot of folks. But the folks who own it, the family that owns it, is still going to keep owning it. They're gonna find a tenant to put into there. So
and they're going to be pretty picky about it too. So that's so they're going to find something interesting that Cary needs. So
and that's
I'm
like
glad
a direct
it doesn't
quote.
sound like it's going to be like just sold off to the highest bidder, become
there's
something.
not gonna be a Starbucks.
Yeah,
I love Starbucks, but I mean, there's something about kind of those.
It's such a nostalgic place. So hopefully, I'm hoping it'd be cool if it became like another diner or a little cafe or just something local and nice that can kind of like fill that gap. And they need to serve orangeade.
Yeah, well, yeah,
it's a necessity.
Probably
that should be on the checklist for the Ashworth family.
That probably won't happen, but yeah. So anyway, some sad news. Some sad news there.
Yes.
On more restaurant news, and looks like Steven is joining. We're doing well, Steven. How are you? Thanks for tuning in. Whataburger. So those of you who have you ever been to a Whataburger?
I haven't, but apparently Whataburger is not the same as Whataburger, because we have a Whataburger with like hyphens in it.
Yeah.
And Zach told me, Whataburger is coming. I was like, we already have one of those.
We don't.
He said, no, we don't.
So
somehow they're different.
So in North Carolina, at least in central North Carolina, there is a Whataburger that has hyphens. What hyphen
like
burger.
That guy definitely just stole the name and just threw some
it's been around for a long time.
Maybe this one stole the name.
But
That's
anyway,
just
so
weird.
the Whataburger that a lot of people think of, I think they originated in Texas. And if you've ever been to Texas, then you see them everywhere.
Yeah.
But they're opening their first North Carolina location, and it's going to be
cool.
I was really hoping it was going to be in our area, but it's not. It's in Fayetteville, which is kind of a bummer.
Gonna drive all the way to Fayetteville.
But I mean, Fayetteville is not. I mean, if you're on the southern side and you love southern side of the triangle and you love Whataburger, Fayetteville is not that far. And honestly, it makes
be really good.
Because when I was saying, I was like, why would they choose Fayetteville over like our area?
Raleigh, yeah.
But I think it makes sense. There's obviously in Fayetteville you have Fort Liberty, which used to be Fort Bragg. So you have a huge military presence. And a lot of those folks have probably been stationed in Texas somewhere. And so they probably have come to love.
Yeah, maybe it's like a well-known.
I mean, that's how I got it when through
the Army.
Through the Army. And so I think it's kind of a genius. It's a genius move. But anyway, if you love burgers and you love Whataburger,
love Fayetteville.
Yeah, and you love Fayetteville.
Said no one ever.
then it's worth checking out. But I think I'm waiting for the day when In-N-Out makes it to North Carolina. So that's the burger chain. That's the burger chain I want.
Yeah, I don't know if they want to come out here.
Yeah,
they should.
We'll see.
They've had plenty of time at this point to expand their horizons.
Yeah,
In-N-Out. But they like their little home base over there.
So speaking of tolls, and we probably should have tagged this along with the Capital Blvd section, but the southern portion of 540 is nearing completion.
Exciting time.
Yeah. So it should be expected or to be done at some point this year. The first phase of it. There's still another phase that will need to be done, but obviously that section is going to be a continuation of the toll road that already exists on the western side, which currently is the only toll road in the area, unless Capital Blvd becomes the second toll road.
Apparently, we're moving into toll culture around here.
Yeah.
Anything new must be a toll.
But Triangle Business Journal wrote an article which I thought was pretty helpful, because sometimes folks will ask, what's the cost of the toll? And so some of the questions have been, what would be the cost of this new section? They haven't released the price yet. But the average cost per mile in the current section is 20 cents. I have no idea. I don't know if this has on here what the average is nationwide. For those of you who don't live here, I'd love to know, is that high?
A lot? Is it not? Because the portion that's a toll is really short. So even if you rode the whole thing, which we do kind of often traveling for work, I feel like it only costs like a little over $1 a trip. So I don't know, maybe it's high, but then again, it's a pretty short little stretch there. So it's not like you're like on a interstate or something where you're going to be on there for like 40 miles.
And this actually does have, it has some info on tolls in other parts of the country. So
$1.25 per mile
Yeah,
in New
in New
York.
York.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. 20 cents sounds pretty
Yeah,
good.
yeah. Well, these are the most expensive
Yeah,
toll roads in
right.
the country. So I don't know
That's a
how.
lot.
I still don't know what the average is, but for those of you who are curious, how much does it cost to drive on a toll road in the Triangle? About 20 cents per mile. And the expectation is that's probably what this new section of 540
Well, it
will
wouldn't
be.
make sense for different sections of the same
No,
road
it
to
would
cost
unless they
different.
just
So
raised
unless
it
they raise the
throughout.
price, as time goes on or something,
Yeah,
but it would make sense to keep
yeah,
the same. That'd be kind of confusing if
yeah, yeah.
different
It would.
portions of it cost different
Yeah,
amounts
it
for
would.
such a small little road.
Cool. Well, the only other thing we have, some big news came out, and I meant to cover this a couple weeks ago. I'd looked up what was happening with Top Golf, and I was like, "What the
Oh,
heck is
yeah.
happening with Top Golf?" So those of you who don't live in the area, we have a drive shack, which is if you've never been to any of these, it's basically like a driving range. But it's fun for people who, no matter how good you are at golf or how bad you are at golf, it's a lot of fun. It basically makes a game out of golf.
Yeah,
If that,
it's like it kinda adds like a
not
you're
that golf
actually
isn't a game
golfing, but if
already,
you
but
want it to be it tracks the ball and kinda makes it more
yeah,
like a virtual a video game, I guess. But then you have these little cool little, like, couches, and there's food, and there's, like,
yeah.
servers
It's
that come
basically like
around.
if
It's
you
very
combine,
social.
yeah, if you combine bowling and a
Yeah,
driving
yeah, that's actually
range,
really good.
I think that's
Good
like
way to
that's
describe
the
it.
place you would have. So,
Yeah.
kind of the OG, the original player in this field was Top Golf, and Drive Shack's actually a spinoff of Top Golf. But anyway, they've been building this Top Golf place in Durham for
Forever. I
five
think it was, like,
years.
2021 or something,
I
like,
don't,
that
yeah, I don't know.
it was
It
supposed to
really
be
it
done,
hasn't been
but
5 years, but it's been
it's been a long time.
forever. And I was looking at the permitting history the other day just to see like has there been any updates? Is there anything going on? And there was a little bit of movement. As far as like the county kind of issuing like inspections and all that kind of stuff, so like it was moving. I meant to bring that up a couple weeks ago, but they just released this week that they are hiring. So they're looking for 500 people, which I had no idea Top Golf
That's a lot.
employed 500 people,
Yeah.
but that's
Well, I mean,
really
it's a
really
restaurant,
impressive.
so you gotta have, like, a whole
Yeah,
kitchen staff and then I guess, like, groundskeepers and all that because I think it's, like I don't know if it's turf or what's out there. I
yeah,
guess it's turf. I don't
I don't
know.
know.
I don't know, but, yeah, I mean, it is a pretty big I don't know how
Yeah,
many Drive Shack has or if it's around the same size, but it'll be cool to have another cool, like, little social place to go to for
yeah,
sure.
it will be, it will be. But yeah. So Top Golf looks like it's going to be opening soon, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Um, And for those of you who are, if you're watching and you're active clients of ours or past clients of ours, we're actually going to be doing um, a client appreciation event this year at Drive Shack. So
Yeah, in April.
in April,
Yeah.
yeah, we've already booked it, so we'll be sending out some invites to that soon. But yeah, Top Golf's going to come to the area. So if you've never been to either of those places, they're both great. I actually kind of like Top Golf a little better the times I've been. Um,
We don't have one here.
but
I've only been to Drive Shack because 'cause I've only been to the one
yeah.
here, so I don't have any comparison, but yeah, maybe this year we'll do Drive Shack, and next year we'll have to do Top
Yeah,
Golf and
yeah.
then see
But
which one's
I
better.
think that this area and next week we'll get into there's actually two other places opening um soon that are kind of like entertainment venues, but I think the Triangle needs more places
To go
like
hang
that.
out,
Yeah,
yeah.
because we
Besides
don't
just, like,
have,
going out to
yeah,
eat.
we don't have the beach to go. The
Yeah.
beach is a short drive away. We don't have the mountains. The mountains, it's a short drive away, but still, we need more places like that where you can go hang out and have some sort of entertainment. So we don't
Yeah.
have like a professional. Well, we have the Hurricanes, but there's not like an NBA team or an NFL team to go watch. So I think things like that are really cool.
So
But
this is equivalent. Watching Zach play golf at Top Golf, he's equating it to going to an NBA game.
no, I'm just saying like forms of entertainment.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah. It'll be a lot of fun. So we'll end tonight on mortgage rates like we do most weeks. They topped 7% this week. So
7.03.
yeah, they were 7.1 and they dropped down a little bit. So you can see the actually I'm not sharing. I thought I was sharing the screen. I'm not sharing the screen. So 7% here. They did drop a tad bit today. But yeah, I mean, basically all year we've been high sixes and now low sevens. So
Yeah.
hopefully if the experts are right, we'll start to see some changes in that as the year goes. And I mean, if I had to put out an opinion on it, I do think we will see rates decrease some this year. I don't know. I'm still not sold on the fives.
Yeah.
But I could see us year end being at a stable low six
That would
or
be
something
nice.
along
That'd
those
be
lines.
refreshing for sure. That would help a lot of people out.
So yeah. But anyway, cool. Well, that's all we got, y'all. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in.
And we will see y'all next week. I hope y'all have a wonderful weekend. Bye, y'all.
Bye, guys.